But, so we're in the slow lane of life, and there's frustration. I'm like, oh, I hate my job, my kids, my marriage, I don't know what to do. And we just keep banging our head against the wall. But there's always that time when God just stirs something in our heart, and we hear a sermon, we read a book, we read a verse of the Bible, and it's like life is breathed into us. And for that moment, we move out of the slow lane into the fast lane. And in the fast lane, there's hope up ahead. There's freedom. You can go as fast as you want. You can take a sigh of relief. But what always ends up happening? We always end up drifting back into that slow lane. Whenever I hear somebody talking about that time that God just stirred something in my heart, it's always about 3 years ago. God stirred something in my heart. And now they're spending the rest of their lives trying to chase that back down again. You know what I mean? We're out for a second, and it's the best thing we've ever experienced, but we don't live those vigilant, watchful lives. And so we end up just fading back in. It's not even really a decision that we make. It's the decision we don't make to be vigilant, to be self-controlled, and we just fade back in. Verse 14 starts with, as obedient children. I love this. I really started thinking about obedient children, what makes them obedient, how do they get obedient, all of that kind of stuff. Obedient children are not just carried along by whatever comes in the moment. I mean, we think most kids just walk around, get candy, get candy, get candy, get candy, get candy, get candy. And everything is based around that. But obedient children aren't just focused on I want the candy, I take the candy. Obedient children have been disciplined and trained to make the wise decision. My daughter, God bless her, is probably the most obedient child that I've ever met. Not perfect, but she's obedient. Probably the number one question that I hear from my daughter is, Daddy, is this a good idea? Or, Daddy, is this okay? And it's not, hey, I wrote on the wall, was that a good idea? But before she decides to do that, she's wise enough to look ahead and say, well, if I do that, I could get a spanking, I could get put in timeout, I could get something taken away, whatever it is. If I don't, I could get rewarded. I could not get a spanking or reward in and of itself. She knows enough to look to the future. Look past her present circumstance or present, I really want this. To look ahead, to say, but what's the wise choice? What's going to get me where I need to be, where I want to be? See, I think so many times we take credit for our children's obedience, or, man, it's that book that I read, that seminar that I went to, that parenting class. Those are all good. But in the end, the children have to make the decision. And that's what it is they couldn't put it into words, they don't understand it yet, but they look ahead of their present circumstance to make the wise choice. And that's what Paul is calling us to do here. As obedient children, as people willing to look ahead of where we are now, willing to weigh the options and make the wise choice. Do not conform to the evil desires you had when you lived in ignorance. You see, Peter doesn't say, conform because I said so. He says, just as obedient children conform to please their parents, to avoid negative consequences, to actually move ahead in life, as obedient children, do not conform to the evil desires you had when you lived in ignorance. As I was going through that, I really kind of keyed in on the word ignorance. Because I think we misunderstand the word ignorance a lot. We hear ignorance and we think it's stupid. Somebody's ignorant, oh, they're dumb. That's not what the word ignorance means. Ignorance means lacking in knowledge, training, or information. Living in ignorance means living, not knowing any better than to live how you live. See, earlier I joked about, I got this MacBook and it runs Apple's, which is so much better than Windows, and I was so enthused with it, but honestly, Apple dominates Windows. I could not, now that I've used it, go back to using Windows. I can't go back to a life of ignorance. It's true. It's true. I'm telling you. In my computing life, I can't go back to living like I didn't know any better. I've tasted the better way. I've drank the Kool-Aid. I've done whatever. I can't go back. That's what Peter is saying here. Peter's not saying use Apple. Peter is saying once you've tasted the life that God has for you, once you've experienced this life, once you've lived life looking ahead towards that glorious day, you felt the rewards, he said you can't go back to living in ignorance. Like, you'd be a fool to go back. You know where that leads. To pain, frustration, to death, ultimately. Like, you can't go back there. A little bunny trail here. If you find yourself just taking up every evil desire that comes your way, you really need to have some difficult conversations with yourself. If you look at your life before you pray the sinner's prayer, and you look at your life after you pray the sinner's prayer, and there's really no difference, you need to have some potentially awkward, difficult conversations with God. Maybe you need to have a yelling match, whatever it is, but we're called to live different lives, not as lives of ignorance where we just take on every evil desire that comes. I'm not saying you need to be better so that Jesus will love you more, but if you've experienced the love of Christ, can we really just go back to the ignorant, evil life that we had before? I really don't want to spend too much time on it, but Peter doesn't just say, don't do this. I mean, in wise parenting, you don't just tell your kid, no. You say, don't do that. Instead, why don't you come over here and play with this? It's safer, you're not going to ruin my stuff, whatever it is, just come over here and play. And Peter has the same thing. If you look in verse 14 and 15, he says, do not conform to the evil desires you have when you live in ignorance. But just as he who called you is holy, so be holy in all you do. For it is written, be holy, because I am holy. That's the alternative. Living this ignorant, again, I hate using that because we think stupid, but living this life as if you don't know any better, and taking on every evil desire that comes your way, or live holy lives as the Father was holy. The word holy was used there 4 times. I'm no theologian, but I'm assuming he wanted to show us it's important. Another audience participation. What does the word holy mean? Maybe you want to give the Webster's definition, maybe just in your life. What does the word holy mean? Set apart. Clean. Perfect. Anybody else? Righteous. Very good. Yeah, I love it because it means we all kind of picture it something differently. The Webster's definition is to be set apart. We'll come back to some of the others. I'm kind of glad some of you said those, but holy means set apart. You see, Peter is calling us to live lives that are set apart for God. Live lives that are set apart from the world. Live lives that are set apart from our own wants and our own desires. To live lives that are set apart for and available to the will of God. You see, if anyone spends the slightest amount of time with us, they should notice something different. Maybe we're not quoting scripture, not in verse, but there should be something set apart, something different about us that people look at and go, I can't put my finger on it, but that guy is just, maybe they say he's not right. Whatever it is, there's something different about that guy. Verse 2, let's jump back here, we looked at it earlier. Verse 2 says that we've been crucified, we've been sanctified, much better, which means to be made holy by the Holy Spirit.